Joe, why does Dr. Pepper come in cans? His wife died.
Hey-o!
Hey, what do you call 2 jalapenos getting it on?
What?
Fucking hot. Hey, this is Jacques.
I'm Joe.
And there's a lot more where that comes from on this week's Carnival Personnel.
Don't you want to sell the show? Don't you want people to stay tuned?
I was going to say I've been trying to sell it. No buyers. You know, the crap that you can buy on Craigslist, and there's no takers as far as this goes.
Guess what, man? We're not even for sale. We are very much low price.
Joe, how was your week?
Terrible. Yours?
Same.
Good.
You know, if we're recording this in a couple days, maybe we'd be talking about the weather.
Maybe.
First big storm coming in. You excited?
No.
Yeah, me neither.
It's one of those supposed to come in late Saturday night, so you have to wake up on a Sunday morning. Awful. I'm not going to church. Why am I waking up on a Sunday at all? And
you might not.
Lord,
God willing.
God willing. You wake up early once the snow stops, and you have to, shovel the snow away before the sleet and ice comes later that afternoon.
And that's where the fun is.
Yeah. So, you have that window of opportunity to break your back.
Which, as we remember last February, I made get a good old college try.
Right. You did the old life alert.
But you...
I've fallen and I can't get up.
You have a healthy 19-year-old in the house?
Next week.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Shovel.
No. First of all, not 19. He's 18. Secondly, not healthy. So 2 strikes.
Yeah, it's like I put my oldest on notice. It's like, yeah, this year it's not. Oh, I'm going to help Papa. Shovel. I'm going to the house.
Well, my son has it down where he does such an awful job. I might as well just do it the fucking myself.
Yeah, I think mine has gone that route. Yeah, it's not flying this year, and luckily we have friends staying with us. So there's another semi-healthy like middle-aged guy, and he has a 12-year-old. So between
you got the slave labor going.
Seriously, I mean,
you're a regular Trump over there.
But yeah. So this week I was telling Joe before, big week at our household. Tuesday. Traded in my old jalopy, my 2016 Hyundai Santa Fe, for a 2018 Hyundai Santa Fe.
Woo! Easiest
sale ever. Like, because it needed a battery. It needed a major tune-up. It's never had a major tune-up. I changed the oil just like you're supposed to, every 20,000 miles. Right? That's what it is. Something like
when the engine seized light goes on.
I probably 6,000 to 8,000 miles. I change it.
You've ignored every recall.
No, was there one recall that I think I actually...
You don't recall?
I don't recall. I forgot to remember to forget. And walked in, and what I do every time I get a car, or generally, you go in towards the end of the year, you buy the last year's model that they've now pushed out into the back, that they still have, that they're trying to get rid of. And it's 98% the same as the 2019, model, except, one less useless thing that you're never going to use. And it's usually like 10,000 less. So
good for you.
And here's a little tip for the listener. And I mean this. I don't know much about what I'm talking about. When you buy a car, you walk in and you have 2 options. You're going to buy a car, or you're going to be sold a car. And you have to know the difference walking in. And if you are there to buy a car, be prepared to walk out. And I cannot suggest walking out more. I walked in, told the guy, this is what I want. Did not even bother to test drive it. I know exactly what I'm getting. And so I said, great. This is what I'll pay. I know you can't make the decision. I don't have time to stick around. Call me if you hit this number. And he called like 2 days later, and he was close. And I said, just to clear up any confusion, call me when you hit this number, not close to it. And I also follow up with an email. I'm like, all the aftermarket stuff you're going to sell me, I do not want. I do not need. And of course, they hit the number. It just took a couple more days for them to say, wow, it's still here a week later. I don't think it's getting any fresher. So because again, it's Martin Luther King weekend. They're rolling out the 19s and all that stuff. Called, here's if there is a fallback or downside, I don't want leather seats. At which they try to sell you as, oh, well, hey, I know it's not the number you wanted, but these have leather seats. Vegetarian, not interested in leather seats. But if I'm going to get, you know what I mean? I'm not going to not get the car. It's like, I like the blue, the Hyundai blue. It's only in white. I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? Will this go from point A to point B? And then go in, all done, all the paperwork, except they can't not sell you a car unless they take you in the little intimidation room. And management was with me. And I don't think she's used to these little rooms as much. She hasn't bought as many cars. And she got to see me on full display. And I knew the guys, it's like a timeshare thing. They're not going to take no for an answer no matter how many times. And it was great. He was like, well, with this package, now, and he starts drawing a squiggly line. He goes, like, under a microscope, this is the molecular structure of like paint. I'm like, it is? Because my buddy at MIT draws it completely different. And now it's like, oh, sorry, management is like, just let him get through it. And it's like, the guy's like, well, they used to use lead paint and lead is really bad. I'm like, yeah, I know. My uncle died of lead poisoning. And he goes, oh, I'm sorry. I said, he was shot 6 times in the chest. And she throws up her hands and says, I got to get back to work. Just let him finish talking. And it was one of those things where, oh, well, okay, if you don't want this package, just take this. No. Well, this package, it's only $9 more a month, and it will give you a real peace of mind. And I said, I know it doesn't do you very good because you got to make this sale. I'm here because I'm buying a Hyundai, and it's my 6th one. And that's my peace of mind. I've never had problems with it. You should feel really great working for a company that somebody will come walk in right off the street and just take a car without even test driving it because they are so convinced they know what they're getting. And I said, if any of these things break down before the 60,000 miles, I know it's covered. That car out there has 65. I traded in around 60, 65. I'm going to be here in 2 years. If you don't fuck this up, probably getting another one. So why don't we just come to the agreement? I don't want this. Well, you need gap insurance. I was like, that's why when we were sitting out there, we called the insurance company. We already got gap insurance. Well, let me tell you about our gap insurance. Let me tell you that I've already paid for it with our insurance company. Nobody wants to hear that. But, my friends, buy a car. Don't be sold a car. That's the difference. And even if it's a great deal, walk out. Just walk out. They will call you back.
I have a tip for our listeners. Pay Jacques $1,000 to buy a car for you.
No, I can't tell you. My sister and other friends would wait for me to fly back from LA, to buy a car. I remember the starter wife, the first time she got a car, we were buying her a used car, and the guy said, we were talking, well, what's the interest rate on this? Well, it could be this or this, but a half point doesn't make that much a difference. I grabbed the calculator and just showed her over a 5-year period of time what a half a point difference was. It made a difference. And he was trying to upsell X, Y, and Z, and we're in the little room, and he goes, hey, at one point, you're going to have to start trusting me. Because every time he said something, I would turn to her and say, hey, this is what you're being sold. This is what's happening. He goes, at one point, you're going to have to start trusting me. And I said, look, no offense, you're a used car salesman in North Hollywood, California. At no one time in this transaction will there be a moniker of trust extended. And just the look on his face of, I fucking hate you, but I can't tell you I hate you because I think you're going to buy this car, which we did. Anyways.
No, that's great. I wish this was a car show. Can we make this a buying a car show? I don't even want to talk about politics or the weather or sports or video games. Just give me tips about how to wade through people coming to get you.
Right.
I mean, that's the whole. That's survival. I want to know how to survive in this hustle bustle world of bullshit.
See, the issue that you would have although you are a dick, you don't present as a dick as well. Like,
Right. I'm a private dick.
I
I'm your private dick. Dick for money. Do what you want me to, dick.
Me on the other hand, I've not yelled at any kids to get off my lawn yet, but
Once they step on it, though, you haven't had the opportunity presented toward you.
I think I got a lot more of Ed Asner in me than most. You got a lot of spunk. So moving on. Fat shaming week 2. Joe, it's the best of times. It was the worst of times. I went skating 2nd week in a row. Very excited about that. I did. It was fucking horrible. And I'm not kidding. I could put you on skates and people would have thought we just started skating at the same time. But it's not as horrible as last week, because last week I told you I had trouble getting the, just because you're not an athlete doesn't mean you can't. Just because you're not a jock doesn't mean you can't be an athletic supporter. That and the pants, the hockey pants, snug. This week I just went with sweatpants. So
man,
it was easier this week.
Next week it's a hefty sack.
But yeah, I think I'm 4 months from Vegas. I just had a wrinkle thrown in the works. Our friend Taylor had just let me know that Kid Nick has let us know that he's available to go on the tournament. I will not waste anybody's time other than saying Nick is a complete flaming piece of shit, true pedophile that nobody wants him to go. So
them's a really harsh words. Has he been convicted?
No.
Remember, this is being recorded and broadcast.
Oh no, hey, like I told him like a few years ago, I have this great move, like this one-on-one move that I'd show him that I've been doing I've had this move for about 14 years, and I'd show it to him because it's 14 years old. He tried to fuck it. So,
okay,
that's a big word for an 8-year-old.
I'm presuming that Nick is a pseudonym to protect the.
No, I'm saying Nick is a flaming piece of crap. Nick is such a piece of crap. He ran a scam. The guy who he was scamming died, and he still got taken to court over it and lost to a dead guy. He lost to a dead guy. No, and you will not edit this. I do not retract any of it.
Okay.
Nick accidentally hears this. He can find me, and then I can kill him. It'd be easier for me than finding him to kill. Anyways, but I'm still going to work hard about it. Happy 100th anniversary, Joe.
How time flies. What are you talking about, Willis?
Were you aware of the molasses flood in North Boston 100 years ago?
I was.
I was not. So please take the lead.
There was a flood of molasses. I think 100 years ago in Boston,
North Boston,
where
all them Italians are.
I'll edit that out. Oh no, you're right. There are a lot of. You know, I just checked it. Yeah, there are.
Especially 100 years ago. I mean, it was the first newspaper I actually got paid to write an article for was a North Boston newspaper that just 2 years before was only in Italian. And then they 2 years earlier started to do an English, version of it. I cover it like every year. The Boston Fire Department plays the Boston Police. I just, covered that little game. But it's a 100% Italian community, especially 100 years ago.
I know. I've been in North Boston. Yeah.
Have you now?
Yes.
They love Portuguese in there.
Well, my money's just as good as everybody else's. There was a big molasses flood. Honestly, I knew of the molasses flood. I don't know how it started. I knew it moved slowly.
Sadly, it didn't. It actually moved.
See,
and they had like a giant one of those, like, those oil tanks you see off of 93. They had one of these giant ones. There was no OSHA at the time. There wasn't any unions. There wasn't much inspection, and it had leaked here and there. Like the person overseeing construction of the storage thing was a CPA, not a structural engineer. And when it started to spring leaks, they painted it brown.
Wow.
To hide the leaks.
That's great.
And then it burst. 35 people die. Fun fact, at the time, there were 7 different daily newspapers in Boston. And this was the front page story on all 7 for a week. didn't make big national news, although it was a pretty. I mean, for some people die in something like this. The same week, Prohibition went into effect, and the Treaty of Versailles was being signed or being ratified. Yeah. That was headline news everywhere else.
This was like page 7 on the Boston Globe.
But so the everywhere in the world it was page 7, but here in the seven daily newspapers, how times have changed. And molasses, I guess, was used in everything back then.
Mm-hmm. It was probably what was used besides what we now use high fructose corn syrup for.
Yeah, pretty much. And and the way they dealt with it is pretty much folded up the company and moved to Philly and changed the name. Like, there weren't any great John Hamberders at the time, representing the little people, the 30, I think it was like 35 people who died in a molasses flood. Like, just, almost like, I wonder if they had left it there, it'd be like Pompeii.
Right.
At least we can laugh about it.
Yeah, I know. Time has passed.
Time was passed, and they were Italian. Am I right? Yeah. All right, I'm top. Am I right?
Yes, you are.
Hey!
Next.
What's the matter with you?
That's a matter for you, right?
It could have been one of Mario's family members. Did you, little local politics, you watch Mayor Marty Walsh's speech the other day on TV?
The State of the City? No, I was watching something else.
Match game. Okay. It was really good. And what was interesting, it kind of went out of its way to say, fuck Trump, obviously, but also fuck racism. He went way out of his way to introduce a bunch of people from different minority groups, different LGBT groups, different, African American groups, different special needs groups, and also point out the work that's been done.
All answering to a white guy.
As it should be. And hey, who said that? What was really interesting is a couple times he pointed out, and Governor Baker was sitting, obviously front and center, that the two of them are going down to D.C., and there's like 3 different initiatives that they're working on together. And Mayor Walsh pointed out, we don't agree on everything. He's a conservative Republican. I'm obviously not. He made a joke about it, but we're working together to make our city, which is doing great. He made sure everybody knew it was a sanctuary city, made sure that he addressed, it was very much a political, almost like a presidential rally, pointing out all the positive things in Boston that was just voted like the best city to live in. The city in which you're most likely to be able to go up a class in. But at the same time, he did say we have a serious problem with housing and the median and smaller housing people being pushed out, and we are working together. And that's something that he talked with, pointed out the Baker, that we're not talking about it. We're actually putting action plans together. The reason our city is doing so good is we do have a thriving middle class. We have a working class. A class that can make a decent living in the city, and it's important for us that they can live in the city that they're working in. Talked about, different college programs. It was, and I'm like, am I that guy now who's actually watching these things? Or, and I didn't plan to, it just, was on. I'm like, oh, I'll listen to what he's saying.
I tuned in for Jeopardy, and I got that instead. I immediately tuned to a rerun of Match Game, like you said.
But it was. It was actually nice. And again, I'm not the biggest Baker fan, but if there is something of a moderate, but he has to be. The entire state Senate is Democrat. The 2 state senators are Democrat. The mayor of the biggest city is a Democrat. So
it just so happens that a lot of the scumbag voters that live in Massachusetts are Republican.
Well, it's funny. But if you think about it.
Did I say scumbag?
You did.
Why did I say that?
But he won in a landslide. Baker did, as did Elizabeth Warren. Yeah. It's the same people who are going and voting for her that voted for him.
Right. So
Because things are going well.
and he's not like this weird religious nut. He's not in the pocket of the NRA. You know, he's not the stereotypical Republican politician.
So it was. I and of course it was so, he called it Champion City, like, a few times and stuff like that. He got a lot of cheap rounds of applause, but it was.
Hey, man, I mean, he's going over the year in review. The Red Sox won the World Series. How do you not mention that?
Right. And in the same year in a review, Bruins made it to the second round. Celtics made it to game 7, last 5 minutes against LeBron, who's now a Laker, and the Patriots made it to the Super Bowl.
They made it.
They didn't give themselves a participation trophy for that.
Well, there was no more room on the trophy shelf.
We're such dicks. Speaking of dicks,
Please.
you should have seen that one coming. You should have seen that one coming.
How come Dr. Pepper comes in a can?
His wife died. What? No one's listening to this.
What were you saying about
I
something?
was saying only because the commercials kept airing during the Patriots game. Celebrity Apprentice or Celebrity Big Brother.
Yeah.
Did they go out of their way to find the biggest douchebags? I mean, when is the last time you've heard Kato Kalin? and what is he famous for?
For living next door or in the guest house of O.J. Simpson, a murderer.
Yeah. Allegedly.
Actually, no, he's not a murderer.
Double murderer.
Right.
Thank you. It's like
Kato Kalin.
last year they had, what's a woman's name? Omarosa. Am I saying it right?
Well, Omarosa. Yeah, Omarosa. Yeah, she just
This year it's Scaramucci.
Yeah, whatever. They look, Celebrity Big Brother.
Who watches it?
Millions of people. Big Brother is a thing. It's a big thing. Regular Big Brother during the summer is much more popular than Celebrity Big Brother, I think. But from what I understand, like, you have the 24-hour cam on the Big Brother website where you can actually watch them when they're not on live with Julie Chen Moonves. Her name is Julie Chen Moonves now. She's the host.
She related to anybody?
Yes.
How'd she get that job?
Let's not go down that road. But yeah, Celebrity Big Brother is it's a popular show, and it's one of the biggest reality competitive shows on television. So they're trying to appeal to a broad audience. They don't want to be,
don't guys want to watch it too?
Guys watch it.
See, you said broad audience.
And
this is 1943. So I figured
What's that, Miss Maisel over there? Anyway, Celebrity Big Brother. Who gives a fuck?
Is there a way to watch the people who watch it and then put them on some kind of list?
I just want to see if this joke has probably been told, but will Scaramucci last longer on Big Brother than he did in the White House? Can he beat his record?
Dude, it's like, why? Well, it is what it is. But yeah, anybody who watches that, you are fucking sad.
Right.
Let's move on to what's happening in Twitter this week. There is a young up-and-coming congresswoman from the Bronx making all kinds of news. Turns out she's a fabulous dancer. Well, I don't know if she's a fabulous dancer, but dances. She's now known as AOC. As you know her as...
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
So she, it was announced that she's going to run kind of a tutorial for, Democrats how to use Twitter. Because a lot of people, she's owning Twitter. She has lots of followers. She's effectively using it. And a lot of older, Democrats and have reached out for help on this. To which a bunch of fans of the GOP are now mad at Twitter for not offering the same services to the GOP. It's like, no, the Twitter's not doing it. She's doing it. So, maybe you could get shut up.
Better at Twitter.
Maybe if you didn't have to be like a 70-year-old white guy, racist to be in the GOP. Maybe you could get some of that. But all right. Get out the whistle. We're going to go through the Trump stuff really, really quick because there's a bunch of it.
I like to call this part of the podcast the Trump train. All aboard!
Week 4 of the shutdown. And absolutely no movement. There's not going to be any movement. When are people going to realize this is Paul Ryan's wet dream come true? How many GOP people have famously said their idea of government, like government should be able to fit on a postage stamp? They want everything privatized anyways. You know, whether that means the Coast Guard, whether that means TSA, you go through the list. They want these things failing. There is no pushback. And as you were talking about before, I don't even want to say her name, who's taking credit for pulling the strings of Blotus, which she is.
And Coulter?
You
don't have to say it.
I can't. Like, Nancy Pelosi has said to Blotus, don't do your State of the Union next week. And one of the reasons she cited is during the shutdown, it's probably not the best time to have a State of the Union. Plus, you shouldn't have all these Secret Service people working extra details and have the security that we're not paying for. The optic of it is bad. Don't have your State of Union next week. We can reschedule another time. That date isn't like your birthday, she said, or set in the Constitution. It has to be like the second Tuesday of the month, whatever. We can move it. Let's do it after the shutdown. And then what does that piece of shit do? Not only cancels her trip to Afghanistan, not to Disney World. She and a bunch of Congress people from both parties were going over to Afghanistan to meet. And not only was it not a publicized trip, it wasn't a, hey, look at us over here, take pictures, aren't we great? You're not supposed to know when people are going.
It's a war zone.
And it's security risk for the people going and for the people there waiting for them to get there.
Well, at least he didn't publicize it in a letter demeaning the trip. Or did he?
In November, when I did the trip with the Big Three, one of the very few things the military asked us to do not tweet from the bases when you're at the bases. Wait till you get, if you want to tweet saying you're in Kuwait, maybe, but we would really like you not to mention the bases you're on, at least until you're home safe. We don't want to make you a target or the bases a target because we're having these events. Guard might be down, whatever it is.
Yeah.
This is for a fucking bunch of retired NBA guys going over, not the person who's third in line for the presidency, or is it second in line? So who's the guy? You got the batter, you got the person on deck, and you got the next up. So she's, two people away from the presidency. But it wasn't just her; it was a bunch of people. And again, and this is another reason, like he would want to cancel that trip. She was going over there to meet with NATO allies because it's come out yet again that he wants to completely pull out of NATO. He meaning Putin, and Putin meaning Blotus. She's going over there to meet these people, so now they know where they were going to meet, when they were going to meet, and a lot of those people are probably already there waiting for them to get there. And then he says, well, you can't fly military planes, but you can fly commercial. Fun fact, she does control the purse strings, like the Congress. She can fly if she wants to a military.
You know who else was using a military plane in these dark shutdown times?
I wonder who. Who could that possibly be?
Melania Trump.
But that must have been before this, right? It wouldn't be the very same day that came out.
It was.
Wow. If I didn't know better, I'd say they're really big flaming pieces of shit. Now, remember last year when the Congress voted 98, the Senate voted 98-2 to sanction Russia over the election hacking? Fun fact, those sanctions haven't been fully implemented yet.
Yeah.
Fun fact, they just voted again 2 days ago to reopen the I'm sorry. No, they haven't voted to reopen the government, which they could do, which Mitch McConnell refuses to take a vote. But they voted, and 8 Republicans jumped to side with the Democrats. They had 58 votes. You need 60. So they were able to convince 42 Republican senators to not implement these sanctions. So even though last year the same senators voted for these sanctions to go into effect, when it was time for them to go into effect, fun fact, and I will not say his name right, but the Russian oligarch whose businesses are most affected by this is the one that Manafort was working directly with, Olaposkic, something like that. Look, if it's a Russian name, not in the NHL Hall of Fame, I'm not going to say it right. Let's just put it out there. But seriously, and again, there's so much bullshit going on. Nobody's following up that, these Russian sanctions aren't actually going to happen. And then it also turned out Michael Cohen, which, dude, it can't come fast enough. Is it February? I want to say it's February 17th, but that seems like a long way away.
Maybe February 7th.
Maybe it's 7th that he's supposed to testify, but he's already come out and he has said, yeah, I had 10 meetings about the Trump Tower meeting that never happened, that did happen, but it was just about adoption.
Which Trump Tower?
The Trump Tower meeting that the Donald Jr. when they were supposed to get the Hillary email. If it's what I think it is, I'm all excited. And now, of course, we keep saying the moving the goalpost. It is 100% collusion. And even now, 2 days ago, Rudy Giuliani comes out and said, we never said there was no collusion. We never said there was no collusion. We said there was no direct collusion between Trump and the Russians, but we didn't say people working with him didn't collude it with them. It's like they've now just decided to just say no collusion, to go from no collusion to obstruction's not illegal. Yeah, yes, it is.
Fire's not hot.
But anyway, so before you blow the whistle, the guy who's up for the to take over Jeff Sessions' job and Rosenstein, the head of the DOJ, Burr, completely, we won't even get into how much he's plagiarized himself. He's already said he won't. He doesn't think he would have to recuse himself from the Russia thing, even though he published an 18-page memo. Is this fading in and out?
Yeah, like the right channel is fading in and out. All right.
Okay. I sound better in mono. I'll just speak in monotone if we're going to come out. But he's up for the job because he published an 18-page. It wasn't like he was asked or interviewed. He just decides, hey, I want this job. I wonder if I publish an op-ed saying that the Russian investigation is a witch hunt and here is why, and I have the background of covering up for Republican presidents in the past, I'll get this job. And then there's an internal department inside the Justice Department that decides whether you should excuse yourself from cases. And they've come out and said, yes, he should. If he gets this job, he should recuse himself. And he was asked, okay, we all think you shouldn't have this job. Internally, you're being told if you get this job, you should recuse yourself, will you? No, I don't think I will. Why? Because I see it differently. And then he was asked just the day before this collusion obstruction, new collusion obstruction thing came out. Hey, if the president is colluding, do you think? Anyways, I'm done. You can blow the whistle. Except, did you see the fast food spread for Clemson?
No. Of course I did.
Dude, how gross is that?
Yeah, it's so funny. Yeah, I know. He's a fat pig. He's a low class fat pig.
And even just the fact that how long did it take for how did he spell hamburger? How would you pronounce that?
Hamburger. Hamburger? Yeah. Something like that. It was misspelled.
And then, the Twitter account of Burger King the next day. Did you see that?
We're all out of hamburgers. We have to serve just regular hamburgers.
How long does it take to get a hamburger from the closest Burger King through the 3 security checkpoints onto those presidential platters?
Yeah. In a long time.
Would you?
Yeah, I mean, have you ever...
Many fries. Many fries.
Have you ever trying to eat French fries from like a car ride home? Like, go to the drive-thru, pick up the French fries, don't eat them in the car for some ungodly reason, and then when you get home, try to eat them.
Has anyone ever done that?
I have. Accidentally. Not so good.
We one of the things we miss about LA, and it's such a typical thing to say, is In-N-Out. And, I've never had an In-N-Out burger. I've heard they're delicious. Big on their fries. Mm-hmm. They're great. Get them animal style. They are absolutely fantastic. If you don't eat them within 5 minutes, like honestly,
just throw them in the sewer.
Dude, it's just so low rent. Like everything you're doing is.
Did you hear the audio of one of the players who was walking through the buffet line? They had to subtitle it because it was hard to hear, but he goes, "Oh man, I thought it was a joke." He's picking up his choice of Wendy's, Dave's Junior Patty Melt, or the Big Mac, or the Whopper. I think even I tweeted. I know what I tweeted. I tweeted out that even losing Little League teams get fresh pizza.
Yes, you did.
Like nothing says "way to go, champ" than a cold Big Mac.
So let's see, a Southern football team with a born-again Christian quarterback. That's a pretty safe bet that they're, and now the Red Sox have been invited. They're supposed to go, I think, on February 15th, and they asked Cora, their manager, who's from Puerto Rico, who's been very outspoken about,
the response to Puerto Rico's hurricane.
And now it's come out just again. Like he was asked yesterday, he goes, "Yeah, I'll probably go, but I'm not committing to it. I could change my mind tomorrow." Tomorrow rolls around and it turns out that, yes, he has tried to pull funding from Puerto Rico, for other disasters.
Somebody's got to pay for these burgers.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So that's it on Trump. I promise. Now, could you please dust out the Mike Pence whistle? So Mike Pence has had a fun week, and this isn't funny, so I'll just throw it out there. There was an ISIS attack in Syria where a few U.S. service people died, or ISIS took, responsibility for it. Just hours after Mike Pence goes and gives a speech, I think it was over at the Pentagon, that ISIS is completely eradicated and calling for, this is why it's okay to withdraw. It's okay to withdraw from Syria because ISIS is gone and Putin said we could or should.
Oops.
No, he didn't. Here's my other big fun Mike Pence thing this week. Just to clarify, homophobic piece of shit, which means he's probably gay. His wife has come under a little fire this week because it turns out she has taken a job with an anti-LGBT school that openly says you can't work here if you fall under that umbrella. Oh, by the way, you can't come to school here. And he doesn't think it's fair that people are upset that she's working for a homophobic piece of shit.
Religious
school. But you and I aren't the biggest religious guys, but you do have to remember all those things that Jesus said about the gays.
What's that?
And see. So something about he never mentioned it. Not even once. Yes, but I'm pretty sure if he was here today, he'd say, "Mike Pence, you're a homophobic piece of shit." And you can put away the Trump whistle because I'm all done. I'm done.
Yawn.
I'm done.
Done ski. All right, well, why don't we take a little snack break with this defunct sponsor of the week?
Let me introduce you to the Urkel doll. He's got my looks, my laugh, my voice, and all. Can I do that? So if you can't have me, get the next best thing. Talking Urkel. I just pull my string. The one and only Talking Urkel doll.
All right. So, Dewey wins. Mm-hmm. I'm hoping that's not what everybody's saying when they're listening to this podcast, because this is dropping the day after the AFC title game played in Kansas City between the Chiefs and our beloved New England Patriots. Thoughts, Joe? What do you think of that game we're going to see?
It was sad to see the Pats lose.
Is that what you're saying?
Yep. Just to piss you off.
No, it doesn't.
No, I mean, they're playing in Kansas City, and Kansas City aren't slouches.
Who is a league MVP this year? Their quarterback, Mahomes. Great home team. but I'm still going with the Pats. But I do want to back up. Well, first of all, we will get an AFC finalist banner raised. It's like the Colts did a couple years ago. The Colts, by the way, let's talk about them. Last weekend, the Colts, pieces of shit, were flying 1-0 banners after the wild card game. After all the bad press about 3 years ago when they lost the AFC title game to New England, I think it was 907-2. I think we had the safety. They raised a AFC finalist banner, and people thought, you know what? That looks really participation trophy. And although you are going to get fresh pizza, even though you lost, maybe the optic. And this isn't fans like in Buffalo a couple years ago when they won their first game and took out billboards that said 1-0. This banner was flying over Lucas Stadium, in Indianapolis. And then they go into Kansas City and got their ass kicked. As we know, and we talked about a little last week, not everybody, but most of the talking heads on ESPN and on FS1 and the other national people were all picking. And I don't know why people thought Phyllis Rivers was going to. This was the one game that he was going to beat Brady at 20-degree temperatures with 2 weeks off. And they had to travel twice inside like 8 days from West Coast to East Coast and the time change and all that stuff. It's not as bad going east to west. You're gaining 3 hours, gaining 3 hours of sleep. Anyways, as we know, because that was 2 games ago now, not only did the Patriots win, it was over at halftime. I mean, just over.
It was not as close as the final score would lead you to believe.
Yeah, because they ended up getting 2 late touchdowns.
Mercy touchdowns, I think they like to call them.
But still, it was an embarrassment of riches.
I was just thinking about the Colts losing to the KC Chiefs. You would think the creative thing to do would be to raise a 1-1 flag at half mast, just to sort of acknowledge,
You are cruel. I love it. And again, that's one. I think one of the problems. One of the things, and I won't make this an all-Patriot thing, but one of the things that I think hurt Peyton Manning is, again, half of his career games were played in a dome. More than half, because before going to Denver, the last couple of years in Denver, but he played half his games every season in a dome, and then in Houston was also a dome. So that's, and the reason his playoff numbers were so bad, half his games were played outside. It's a big deal if you're going, that's one of the reasons a lot of people are picking Drew Brees and the Saints to make it. They're playing their 2 games at home, and then the Super Bowl is also in a dome. It makes a big deal. Now, there was all this panic right after the Patriots game on both sides. So there was supposed to be this quote-unquote Arctic freeze. It was supposed to be 8 degrees in Kansas. And now it's supposed to be like mid-20s. It's going to be fine. It was fine. I don't think the weather affected it.
Why are we wasting time talking about the AFC, NFC championship games when you should be predicting your thoughts on the Super Bowl?
You mean the Super Bowl between Drew Brees and the New England Patriots?
Yeah. This will age well.
41-year-old quarterback against a 40-year-old. When's Drew Brees falling off the cliff? Why isn't there a Drew Brees is all done? Drew Brees is falling off the cliff. It's, why are people?
Because he's only like, if there's a cliff, right? And both Drew Brees and Tom Brady are climbing the cliff. Think of like the cliffhanger game on The Price is Right, Drew Brees is on the number 1.
Do the music.
Yodelady, 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 ho, yodelady, ho. Drew Brees is on the number 2 at the bottom of the cliff.
Okay.
And Tom Brady's at the number 25, at the very tippity top of the cliff. So, yes, they're both on cliffs, but one's a lot closer to the edge because they've done and gone farther than the other. That's why.
But people love Drew Brees, but nobody's talking about he should be. Same thing as like Phyllis Rivers is 36, and Aaron Rodgers is late 30s too.
Don't say Phyllis Rivers.
Why? Did you see him play?
Yeah, well, no.
Did you see
in this new woke era of carnival personnel, I will not let you demean women by suggesting that because you changed a man's name to a woman's name, that he is somehow less competent of a quarterback because he is now a woman's name. Get it?
Got it.
Good.
Okay.
So,
Can
Gladys.
I say she's the quarterback? But no, and
I'm just going to suck all the fun out of things now. That's my new thing. This podcast used to suck. Now it's going to fucking blow. It's going to be...
suck and blow.
It's going to suck. And so they've gone from suck to blow.
Speaking of, being woke, Janine Garofalo has come out this week in favor of, like, Louis C.K. has suffered enough. Think about his daughters. And I take her point of view because I thought when the Menendez brothers got life sentences, that was kind of harsh because...
They were orphans.
Seriously. I love that awful joke. Who's joking? Anyways, whatever joke. So I think the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, the Super Bowl
is going to be, and hopefully this age as well. Yeah, but I'm calling it the Pats win on the road. They have already won on the road.
Do they just barely break triple digits?
11 points. They won by 11 points.
So 111 to 100.
You know what? The last time they played was 40-43.
Right.
And earlier in the season, I want to say the Rams and Kansas City had a 54-51 game. So, it's hard because the Patriots haven't blown anybody out this year. I mean, they're one playoff game. Oh, Joe and I, we went to our friend Sully's house for the game. You had an enjoyable time.
Yeah, he's great. I met his wife and
nice
house, and yeah,
and it was it was a lot of fun. But it was the first time this season where we could be arrogant, Patriot fans mocking everything about the other team. By the end of the first quarter, really. I think it was 21-7 or 28-7. The end. They scored their first 5 possessions, not field goals. They scored touchdowns on their first 5 possessions.
Yeah, you say that now, but during the third, I'd say during like the 5-minute mark of the fourth quarter, you were still sweating bullets over there. You're like, I don't know, man. It's not in the bag just yet.
It wasn't. They scored those 2 late touchdowns. You know me,
Yeah, so don't sound like overconfident. Like, we were very confident
you were. The rest of the people.
Yeah. We also had to watch our language because we were in front of an 11-year-old.
Didn't work out that well.
An impressionable 11-year-old.
And at one point, somebody used when Phillip Rivers got sacked and got up whining like I'd say little bitch he is, but that...
He could be a bitch.
Okay. Like the little bitch that he was, somebody in the room said, oh, look, or 2 people simultaneously made man pun references, which said that 11-year-old looked up on the interweb sitting between his parents.
What's a man pun? What's a man pun? Yeah, you'll never find out. Oh, shit, he has a phone.
And apologies were instantly made to the parents. Then we told them about sin. But that was fun.
Yeah,
there's no other sports things.
There are no other sports. All other sports were actually they're part of the shutdown now.
I think so.
I think only the NFL and maybe the WWE are allowed to play.
So they are worried about the shutdown in the Super Bowl. The busiest airport in the United States is in Atlanta. The Super Bowl is being played in Atlanta. It's already going to be a clusterfuck from hell, come that Sunday night / Monday morning. They're already telling people right now traveling are being told to get to the airport 4 to 5 hours early.
For the Super Bowl. Oh, you're talking about like...
Just regular.
No, I thought you meant like get to the airport now.
Right. You probably should. But seriously, it's like I got to go to New York and maybe Arlington, Virginia late next week. In a million years, I wouldn't even think about flying to New York City.
New York City?
Thank you. I had a little delay there. It's a 4.5 hour drive. That's exactly how long it would take to get through, TSA into the gate right now. Yeah. And honestly, if I'm a TSA agent, we're talking that's another 2 weeks away. If we're still locked down, now you've missed 3 to 4 paychecks. You showing up to work?
Yeah, because eventually I'm going to get that huge paycheck when the shutdown is over. Oh, by the way, my taxes will have gone up because the amount of money that will be paid in the one paycheck will be taxed higher than if I were just to get 4
Is that really going to
pay-
happen, or is they going to?
Like-
Will they give you like 4 different paychecks for the same name or amount? Because that would suck.
No, it's one paycheck for back pay. It's all retroactive. So I don't know. I'm pretty sure that's how it works.
Well, yeah. Well, that's really unfair and a real kick in the nuts. So I'm pretty sure that's how it works.
And by the way, do you think Donald Trump is going to be swayed by the possibility of fucking with the NFL's plans?
Well, that's funny because when you talk about taxes, now people are like, because the people who work at the IRS, those are those people too who are being told to come to work and you're not getting paid. Now, are those people more likely to take it out on the little guy who's also getting fucked, or we'll let this deduction go? Yeah, we'll let this deduction go. I'm pretty sure that you can write a few more things off this year.
Yeah, I would think so. And honestly, do you think they're going to want to audit anybody if they're not getting paid?
That's it.
Right, just more work for them. Yeah.
So we're saying
cheat on your taxes, assholes.
You
Yeah.
know what?
Wait a minute. Does the IRS listen to this?
You have to go right ahead. So we I think are done with that. Now,
Please.
before we get into the random video game review of the week,
Or the snore of the snore.
this is Flora's favorite part of the show. You will not take this from her. Do you got any what's going on in the video game here in Casa de Joe?
It's another, school week. Connor plays League of Legends, and it's gotten to the point where he plays it late at night, and he's online, and he's yelling, and he's like,
He doesn't?
And he's obnoxious, and we have to kind of remind him that other people live in the house, and you're a dude now, and you're not paying rent, and shut the fuck up, because it's 12:30 at night, and we're trying to.
Is he in the other wing?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, we can hear you from the from that part of the world. So, aside from that, no, there's nothing big going on here.
So my oldest has really, I think he hit the 52% mark on Spider-Man this week.
Oh.
He's basically been
What's taking
playing
him so long?
because he can only play.
Oh, that's
He's only supposed to play on the weekends, but he's been playing like a half hour here and there before school. And I've caught a bunch of it, and the story seems great.
It's amazing.
He just got to the place,
It's spectacular.
at Grand Central Station, where he's fighting the Japanese guy who owns a laundromat.
Mr. Negative? Oh.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't own the laundromat. That's not the
Who's the guy who owns the place where Mrs. May works?
Yeah, that's not a laundromat, is it?
I thought.
Maybe no. It's like a health center or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought there was like a scene where they were like doing some laundering or laundry. Anyways.
I think there was a scene where they went to do some laundry, but it wasn't a
Okay.
laundromat.
So I'm catching it here and there. So it does. It looks
Mr.
great.
Negative is the main
It
thing.
looks really great. So I will when if like management is going to be away for a weekend and I can take a whole weekend just to play it start to finish, I think I'll dive into it.
Well, don't hold your horses there because Resident Evil 2 comes out in, I think, the week between the games, like next week. So between the AFC Championship game and the Super Bowl.
So when I say I have to go to New York and Arlington, Virginia, I'm just staying at a Red Roof in a couple miles away.
You're getting a second PS4 is what I'm saying.
So the other game I wanted to talk about is Red Dead 2. And only because, again, getting back to going to our friend Sully's house where his wife is the gamer of the family. And it was funny because, I got the nickel tour, before Joe got there. And they have a gaming room, as all adults should.
I didn't even get that tour.
You weren't there in time.
That's right.
You got there for the
I
game.
moseyed on in at kickoff.
And so I was talking to her about it. I said, "Oh, Joe, liked the game, but then it got to this point where you have to do things like shave." And to which you told her, because you were talking about later when she showed up.
What did I tell her?
You don't have to do it every day. It's a novelty thing.
Oh,
for you.
she told because you were setting it up as like I didn't like the shaving part.
Yes, you did. No,
But you failed to mention in the storytelling that she loves the
she
shaving.
loves it.
Yeah. To which I said, well, you don't have to shave your fucking face every day, so it's like novel to you. Like if there was a part where I had to like check for my breasts for lumps in the game, I would love that part of the game. Oh no, I have to do a vaginal exam. And the old self-gyno. Oh, rats. Another 8 hours of this. I'm really racking up the experience points now.
So like the banana said to the vibrator, I don't know why you're shaking. She's going to eat me. Anyways.
You're just burning through these jokes, man. You can't do 2-3 jokes in one podcast. You got to spread it out over the year.
That's what she said. And the other thing is, I guess in the game, you can walk into a saloon, sit down, and play cards.
Yeah, you're right. It's a life simulator, but it's supposed to be it's a phenomenal masterpiece.
But she likes that. She will go and, I mean, people play poker and online poker and stuff. She likes it inside the game that your character can mosey on up to a table.
Yeah, you don't have to do the storyline. You can go on side quests. You can just kind of get lost in the world if you want. That's the greatness of the game. I like Spider-Man. A beginning, a middle, an end. Storytelling. I like the whole. There's a forward motion, and I'm also, looking forward to downloading the DLC pack where there's 3 additional stories to Spider-Man the video game, which is an extra $25. But it beats getting Fortnite for free and then paying $300 on skins and all these other little microtransactions. So I'm playing video games budget-wise, smartly, as I like to fool myself into thinking. So Jacques, while I'm rambling, has gone on to pull off a random Nintendo game from my Nintendo Entertainment System shelf. And what did he pull off? Something off the R's. Probably a game I've already reviewed.
I don't think so.
Okay, so it's not Russian Attack. It's is it like Rollerball or something?
You're getting there.
Rollerblade Challenge or something. I don't know. What the fuck is it?
Rolling thunder.
Oh.
Pouring rain. Come out like a hurricane.
Rolling.
White lightning flashing across.
Sing it, brother. Rolling Thunder. This is a Tengen game. This was one of those unlicensed games. So a little history about Nintendo. There was a company called Tengen who wanted to publish, like Tetris, for example, was their main game for the Nintendo Entertainment System. However, they didn't want to go through the licensing and the quality assurance and all that. They didn't want to go through Nintendo's sort of procedure to officially distribute a game. So they reverse engineered how to produce a game, and they made their own cart mold, and they kind of went around the approval process for Nintendo. And Nintendo, they made their money selling cartridges to developers. Like they had to, if you were a developer for the Nintendo Entertainment System, you had to buy the cartridges from Nintendo, like the whole dev kit from Nintendo. Interesting. So it's kind of like what McDonald's did with real estate. You're buying land or you're leasing the land from McDonald's restaurants, and you can follow the protocols for putting the McDonald's branding and all that in a restaurant. Nintendo had that sort of same thing, but Tengen was having none of that. So they reverse engineered. There's a big lawsuit, and they eventually had to capitulate. And they were they were in violation of some, laws or whatever. So they had to stop making the games for the Nintendo. But
I don't know. I'm just in a frozen caveman. I don't know too much about
reverse engineering. But one of the games they but they did do like a lot of arcade ports. Like they did Pac-Man. They had Tetris, which was huge. They had several other games, including Rolling Thunder, which I believe is an arcade port. I've not played this game. I do not know if it's like a screen-to-screen kind of game or if it's side-scrolling. If only there were a Nintendo Entertainment System guide written by Pat Contry to tell me what the game was about. Well, there is. Rolling Thunder, 4-star game.
4?
Yes,
Four?
four out of 5 possible stars. Reviewed by Pat Contry himself. It's a run and gun shooter. It's kind of like if you ever played the game Contra, where you're
Have I?
No.
Left, right, left.
yeah, right, up, down, left, right, BA start. That's the 30-guy Contra code. It's kind of like that apparently. I have seen screenshots of this game. I may have even played this game briefly. As the red-shirted alien... let me start again. As the red-shirted agent Albatross, players seek out to rescue female agent Leah Blitz in this Namco arcade port. Armed with a pistol, players must move swiftly left to right, ducking and jumping out of the way of the enemies and their attacks while taking them out with pistol shots in timed stages. So the time is a ticking in this game. It looks decent enough. I'm 4 stars. I can't argue with those numbers. I shouldn't even be talking to you right now. I should be playing Rolling Thunder for my Nintendo Entertainment System on this unlicensed cartridge from the company Tengen. And now Jacques is going to see what this goes for on the black market.
What do you think?
It's a decent game. I'm going to say I'm going to go so far as to say $10. A cartridge, $20.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be.
Seriously, so if you were in the Coast Guard and you had to have a garage sale,
I could eat one of them there Big Macs for a week.
well, that if they're not all sold out,
Right.
you got to get there in
Right.
time.
Well, I'm also working at McDonald's, so I get the discount. So, hey, that's good to know. Anyway, that's it. Random video game.
Not so random. I pulled this one out because the cart looked different. I'm like, I wonder why it. And without prompting you to do so, you explained why this cart looks different.
Yeah. So there you go. Yeah, it's a black card. It doesn't look like all the other gray Nintendo cards.
Yeah, it's not squared off at the
Right. There's no end label. It has like this gold, whatever. Anyways,
That's a good beat, and I can dance to it.
it's got to give it a 75.
What are you watching?
What am I watching? I think I'm watching. What have I been? I've been watching Conan on Netflix. The Conan Without Borders package.
Any good?
Yeah, I mean it's if you're a devotee of Conan over the past couple of years, he's gone to many countries and done shows from there. This is their collection of him going to different countries. So it's him in what's the first show? It's him in Puerto Rico. No, Cuba. It's him in Cuba.
It's Cuba.
Yeah, it's Cuba Gooding Jr. It's him in Cuba. It's him in Mexico. He goes to Korea, which was a great episode.
When he goes to Korea, it's pretty great.
Yeah, just him arriving at the airport, fantastic. And he also I haven't gone to it yet, but the big one that I'm looking forward to is the one with him going with Jordan Chomsky to Italy.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Like we still haven't erased that. I'm dead serious, and we've probably watched it twice. It's the second best Conan thing. Second or third best Conan thing. When he went to Norway, nothing will ever beat that. He had one Christmas special that I loved very much, The Raising of the Pagoda, and him going to Italy. The lighting of the pagoda, and and seriously, him going with I can't say the guy's name.
Oh, Jordan Chomsky
to Italy, just the best.
Right, they go they go to a vineyard and a wine tasting thing. I saw bits and pieces of that, but I'm looking forward to watching a little bit more. I'm on this sort of like retro late night kick. I've watched. I told you last week I'm watching old Late Night with David Letterman's and Late Show with David Letterman's. And it's interesting because like I'm watching things like Marv Albert's first interview back from his backbiting scandal, the sex scandal that he was in.
Go on.
You remember?
Yeah, I think it also involved
he had
a little bit of cross dressing.
Well, right, like putting on women's panties and stuff. But like that was fascinating. And and
we're not judging,
right? There was an episode where like the Late Show was getting a new set in 1996, but they didn't deliver the set in time, so they did a whole show from the lobby of the Ed Sullivan Theater.
So great,
yeah, and it's Barbara Walters, Halle Berry, and Ray Charles. And at the end,
but they told Ray Charles he was.
he did. I think he made a joke about it. But what's funny is that he, towards the end, Ray Charles does a number with the band to the side, and then he's escorted up to step up on the platform where they set up the desk at the end of the lobby. And as he's getting up, he says, "Oh, watch your step." But then, like, briefly catches himself, and because he says, "Watch your step, gentlemen," because there was somebody escorting Ray Charles. You know, he's like, you don't want to be with the blind and the can't see. Did you see the Ray Charles stunt on Super Dave?
Neither did he.
Yeah. Anyway,
Want to hear a joke?
you want to hear a joke? I can't even do.
Yes,
Super
you
Dave.
can.
I can't.
So much better than me.
Yeah.
Better than me. It's right. Saying much. I can do a Bob Einstein impersonation.
So that's it. I don't know. What are you watching?
What do you think took up all my hours of watching this week?
I'm going to say Mrs. Maisel. No.
First 2 or 3 days. So, like, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Happy days.
Wow. Walked right into the propeller. Seriously, nothing but Patriot highlights from Sunday. Honestly, that was it. Just Chargers. And then the rest of the week was watching all the footage of why they will lose to Kansas City, which only made me more excited because the Patriots have finally kind of found an identity. Like, they've been looking for an identity. And it's funny because the local media this week have been saying, because right after the game, Tom Brady had said, like, I know we suck and no one says we can win a game, but, we're going to go to Kansas City and see. And people are like, what are you talking about? You were a home favorite. Yeah, they were a home favorite, but everybody picked, across the board and not even close. Like, the people were doing the side by sides, like comparing the running backs, comparing the quarterbacks, we had talked about it. It was all over Twitter. Like, you don't even want to give the guys credit, but like Max Kellerman saying, of course that he's over. What is it? I wanted to say Ray Parker, but that's not Ray Parker.
We got to talk about that.
Yes, we do. Parker. He had a board of like ranking the 8 finalists. It's like,
oh right,
had the Chargers 1 and the Patriots 8th.
Yeah.
Like the level of disrespect was so on a national level
and delusion.
Stephen A. Smith saying the same thing, that he's the least of all the quarterbacks left in the AFC. He ranks him 4th, and overall in the playoffs, he only ranks him like 5th or 6th. The quarterback he trusts the most. Like, I think he edged out Nick Foles, who won the Super Bowl last year, but. And they hear that stuff. They try to say that we block it out, we don't hear it, but it's so. And so the local media this week was making fun of the Patriots for, taking on the us against the world, attitude. And then most of the sports people here have picked them to lose in Kansas City. If the game was here, I'd probably pick the Patriots, but it's there. So
myself included.
Right. But the same people who are saying, don't play that nobody believes in us thing. We don't believe in you, but don't play the nobody, believes in us thing. And I did say the one good thing about giving up the 2 late touchdowns to the Chargers is it gave Belichick something to bitch about, all week. It's because their first touchdown was awful. Anyway, so
I'm glad you're not talking about the Patriots.
All I've watched is Patriot highlights. The only thing I snuck in is the end of the DCU Titans, which is great. Which is really, really great. Unfortunately, I guess the DCU app isn't selling as well. Not as many subscribers as they thought.
Yeah.
I was on the fence of subscribing because this is their only show.
Yeah.
Like everything else I own.
Yeah, this isn't like Netflix where they're going to have, if you're not into DC, then we got other things. No, this is it.
I literally think, I'm trying to think, and I kind of lamented about that. Like, I bought the shitty Batman Ninja Elseworld animated thing that came out a few months ago for like $20, and that's on there. But I own 90% of the things that are up there. Now, it's cool. They have the old 80s TV show Flash and a couple of other old shows. But generally speaking, this is the only live action thing.
Yeah.
And it is great. And it got to the point where, long story short, too late, Dick Grayson has not become Nightwing yet. In the last episode, it's kind of starting to edge towards that. He doesn't want to be Robin anymore. He hates Batman, and they don't talk. And, when the new Robin in this world, Jason Todd, tracks him down, because how did you find me? It's like, well, the tracker. What tracker? Bruce puts in trackers in all of us. No, he doesn't. Yes, he does. In which, it's been talking through the whole series how, Dick needs to get away from him because he's maniacal. He's Batman's fucked in the head. He's controlling. He's manipulative. He's Batman. You know what I mean? And you are just a pawn in his world. And then when he finds out, no, he puts the trackers in us so he can come save us. Or he can track us down when we want to be on our own and break out. So it's good. It's gritty. But all I've watched basically is Patriot stuff. I can't watch Miss Maisel because management has been on a business thing. So I would like to have watched it.
I've only watched season 1, so we're both on the same
Okay.
page. Yeah. And
so you did finish season 1?
I did.
How great is it?
Oh, yeah.
And it wrapped up nicely.
It could have been wrapped up, or it could have been open ended. And I'm
the Lenny Bruce character is great.
Looking forward to season 2. And so briefly before we get off of watching stuff, exciting dude bro news in the world of movies. Ghostbusters is going to get another movie.
And who's leading this charge?
Who's helming this movie endeavor? Why, none other than Jason Reitman, son of Ivan Reitman, CEO of Ghost Corps, which is the Ghostbusters franchise division of Sony Pictures. So Jason Reitman has co-written a movie and will direct. They haven't cast it yet, although he did say in an interview that there will be 2 female and 2 male Ghostbusters. And they did release a teaser trailer for it that it will be released in summer 2020. The teaser trailer is 30 seconds or a minute, and it starts off in this sort of spooky kind of very dark farmland landscape. You see this sort of wooden barn or whatever, and it's thunder and lightning. It zooms in. You hear the Ghostbusters creepy music. The barn doors are open so you can see inside, and there's this wind blowing, and it's rustling up some sort of tarp-covered vehicle. Of course, it's revealed that it's the Ecto-1, and it just cuts to summer 2020, and the hashtag is GB2020. So I'm on board for this. Not that I wasn't on board originally for Ghostbusters 2016, but then when I saw the trailer, I was immediately, poured. I took the ice bucket challenge when I saw the trailer. I was like, "Oh, this is gonna suck," and it didn't disappoint in that respect. It did stink. So, and this could be hot garbage too. I'm not discounting 2016's movie and thinking that this is going to be this should have been the movie we all got, man. None of that stuff. At the same time, it's, Jason Reitman, good director, and very, very good director in his own right, man. In his own right, man. The Dickens. He was on the set of Ghostbusters when they were making it in 1984 as a young lad. And his father... co-wrote the movie. So it should be a pretty, probably the best possible take, I would say, on the Ghostbusters storytelling. And by the way, very important, it's not a reboot. It's a direct sequel from the original lineage. So they're not imagine a world where, Bill Murray isn't Peter Venkman, but some weird fucking skeptic. And, Ernie Hudson isn't Winston Zeddemore, but the uncle to the new Ghostbuster kind of no. There was Ray Parker. Here I go. There were Ray Stantz, Egon Spengler, Peter Venkman, Winston Zeddemore. There was a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. There were Ghostbusters in the 80s, and this is a direct sequel in that lineage. So we're going old school.
So what I'm hearing is between the Patriots going for their 7th championship in 2020. the new Ghostbusters in this podcast, you will not be going to the rickety stool and rope store before the summer of 2020.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. I guess. So thank you, Ivan Reitman. I mean, David Reitman. Or what the fuck's your name? Jason Reitman. Justine Reitman. I don't know.
Is it Hitler? This close to getting to
Why? We were at the finish line, man.
because we're getting into parenting tip of the week. You got one?
Don't be like Hitler. Don't smoke. Be like Hitler. Don't smoke. I don't want to be like Hitler.
I don't want to smoke, but I don't want to.
Anyway, I have no parenting tip.
My parenting tip. We like to joke about racism because nothing's funnier than racism.
Ethnic jokes aren't funny. And when you read this book, you will see by not laughing that ethnic jokes are not funny. Now, I'm going to read to you one of the ethnic jokes. I wish I had an ethnic joke. I can't tell a joke.
I'll have a Diet Coke. So, when confronted with racism in front of your own eyes, you should do something about it. You should say something, document it, intervene when you can, especially if your young boys are around or your young children, and just lead by example that racism is not okay. Even when it turns out to be your own grandmother and dog. Did I say dog? Now, long story short,
Dogs are not racists.
they are. It turns out, because I've had a couple racist dogs. I have. And in this case, and it's funny, but it's not funny. My mother-in-law is dealing with, some things, dementia, whatever. And we have some AIDS, and one of our AIDS,
I'm so sorry.
different skin
Oh,
tone.
not those kind of AIDS. I'm stepping on your things. Tell your story again.
No, wait,
It was
hey.
very nice.
AIDS is pretty funny. This is a comedy podcast. Anyways, turns out she doesn't like the nighttime aid. Complexion's a little different than hers, and has not been that nice to the person. And we've had to tell her. I've told her, it's like, knock it off, And what's not funny, it's like I saw a couple things. I put a kibosh on it. Then I called the wife who wasn't home and said, hey, here's the situation going on. Your mother has a slight touch of racism. And by the way, so does your dog, who I think just feeds off my mother-in-law's anxiety about this person being there. So really barks up a storm every time.
So the dog's racist by proxy.
Which the funny thing is, when my mother-in-law is Korean bonding with a dog,
This close to a spit take.
so close. So I said, to the wife, I said, hey, she tried to hit the aid. And my wife says, well, in all fairness, my mom's tried to hit me a couple times recently too. To which I said, maybe she thought you were Japanese. Because if there's one thing we know from our friend Biff, the Koreans aren't big fans of, the older generation of Koreans aren't the biggest fans of Japanese. And as Biff said, and they shouldn't be. If you turned out, my parenting tip of the week, I guess, if it turns out your dog is racist, you might want to.
I saw a Korean guy beat up a Japanese guy. And I thought, man, these people are specific. No, wait, that's an old Dave Chappelle.
And then I thought, a Diet Coke.
I'll have a Diet Coke.
So that's it. That's all I got.
Great. Thank God. Another week. This is the part of the podcast I love because it's the most amount of time until the next podcast.
How bad is next week if things don't go my way on Sunday? Well, you know what? I'll tell you now.
Okay.
I'm okay. If you don't win if you don't go to another Super Bowl because you lost on the road to a great team with a great coach. I mean, Andy Reid makes clock management things, but if Belichick isn't around, Andy Reid's probably considered one of the 1-2 best coaches in football. I mean, I think it's him, and I think it's Sean Payton over like the last 20 years. Andy Reid is 1-4, 1-5 in conference championships, but he's got to 6 conference championships. This is his 6th or 7th. It's a hostile place to play. The quarterback is great. And plus, I don't hate Kansas City like it. This isn't the Colts. This isn't Denver. This isn't the Jets. And we know it's not the Jets because I said playoffs. So I won't be happy, but man, will I be caught up on the Gilbert Godfrey podcast come next week.
Now, you say that with some sort of an air of like maturity, some clarity, some wokeness, if you will. Now, what if the game were called, or it came down to a bullshit call against the Patriots? How would you feel then?
The fix is in.
All right. Now, how would you feel if it came down to a bullshit call made by the female referee? No.
I will say that the ref of this game is the only ref that the Patriots or that Tom Brady has a losing record with him reffing. Also happens to be the ref for the Deflategate game. You think that's a coincidence of all the games at the NFL? Because these guys, it's not a lottery thing. It's not like putting a name in a hat and you go here, you go here. These games are assigned by the league. Not pretty much a coincidence that that's the guy that they picked to head up this game. And I think it's a mind trick game. I hope, I hope it's a game where I almost hope it's like a reverse Charger game. If they lose, I'd rather it just wasn't your day. I hope Brady has a good game, but maybe 2 kickoffs are muffed and they lose because special teams fucked up or the defense was horrible. Like the Super Bowl last year. I mean, Brady threw 4 touchdown passes and no picks, 503 yards. I mean, it's not, he didn't lose.
But he lost
game.
the Super Bowl.
Right. He lost it. Right. Exactly.
I love that. I love it. It's just like, yeah, he lost 3 Super Bowls.
Well, the first Super Bowls were really won by the defense. Okay, so the Super Bowls they won and Malcolm Butler against Seattle, so when the Patriots win the Super Bowl, it's because the defense won it. But if they don't win the Super Bowl, it's because Brady lost. Okay, good. Now, just
as long as Brady gets 0 credit, that's all we care about.
And it is funny, we're not getting back in Patriot talk. Except we did say at the game, the not going in is Phillip Rivers throws 40-yard bombs and has a highlight reel, but Brady just dinks and dunks it the whole way down the field. And every time he had a 5-6 yard pass for a first down, it's like, yeah, but it was and the national media come Monday who were doing all the backpedaling, it's like, yeah, sure he put up 42 points, but it's all this dinking and dunking down the field and controlling the clock. It's just game management. Sure, he threw 4 touchdown passes.
Right.
But he threw 3 touchdown passes, but they have 3 touchdowns on the ground. You're right. You're right. You're right.
Yeah. Guilty as charged. We suck.
We do. I'm done.
Great. Me too. Jacques, I love you. And don't forget,
standing there right beside you, people you've been before. The youngest one is from high school. He don't know you no more. You can't be sure, it's just wait and see. Remember what gets you wondering. You've already been the best you'll ever be. The 20-something you's hungry, impressively. 30-something you's longing for. The year you were in your teens. can't be sure. It's just wait and see. Remember when get you wondering. You've already been the best you'll ever be. Can't be sure, it's just wait and see. Remember when get you wondering. You've already been the best you'll ever be. Standing there right beside you, looking listless and bored, and just a bit disappointed. The people you've been before can't be sure. It's just wait and see. Remember when get you wondering. You've already